Hello students, welcome to my channel Biology Foundation. This is part 2 of Unit 2 Classification of Living Organisms. If you remember yesterday, I have given a brief introduction of what actually is classification and why it's very important that we classify living organisms that are present on our planet Earth. And we discussed about artificial system of classification in plants, how plants are classified based on their size, based on the lifespan. Plants are classified based on the nutrition mode that they exhibit. And we have also seen based on their habitat how plants are classified into hydrophytes, mesophytes, and xerophytes, right? So basically, and we also discussed yesterday about taxonomy, which is the branch of biology that deals with the study of classification of living organisms, and the scientists who are specialized in this are called as taxonomists. Okay. In part 2, let's discuss the other system of classification, which is known as a natural system of classification. And this natural system of classification is also known as modern system of classification, or it is also said to be hierarchical system of classification. Now, modern system or natural system is widely used for classification of living organisms, unlike artificial system. If you remember, artificial system of classification is based on habit, that means the behavior, general behavior of the organisms. Based on the general behavior of organisms, seeing the similarities, they are grouped as one. If all the plants are very tall, then they are grouped as trees. If they are medium sized and are growing as bushes, then they are kept under shrubs. And if they are very tender and of less height, less than about 1 meter, then they are kept under herbs. Right, based on observable characters, we have seen that they're classified into herbs, shrubs, and trees. So the behavior that they show, or the habitat, the place where they live in, based on observable traits, we can see artificial system of classification has been done. When coming to hierarchical system or natural system or modern system of classification, on what basis are the living organisms classified? In this type of system of classification, based on the similarities in internal structure, similarities in external structure, and the developmental history, based on that, natural system of classification is proposed. Okay, and this is mostly accepted, and even now presently living organisms are classified under this modern system or hierarchical system of classification. Now when I say hierarchy, you know what is hierarchy? It's like rank wise. Like for example, uh, you have different ranks. Like for example, in an institution, when there is a school, you have the first you have the main member, that is your principal, and followed by principal you have vice principal, right? Then you have headmistress, then you have teachers, and you have students in a school. Yes or no? So basically it's a hierarchy with the top rank being principal, followed by at the end you have teachers. And teachers are the persons who teach the students with various kinds and give them knowledge. So what I'm trying to say is, in an institution you have people of different ranks, where principal is the topmost rank, and the ending is your teachers, right? The last rank in an institute, okay, in a school or in a college. So hierarchy means based on ranks, the living organisms are classified. What are those ranks? The topmost rank is said to be kingdom, and the lowest rank is said to be species. Okay, the topmost rank is kingdom, followed by, just like how we have principal, then followed by the vice principal, headmistress, and teachers. The same way, the first rank is the kingdom. Okay, and always remember, students, you have to remember it in this order only: kingdom, phylum, class, order, family, genus, species. We will understand what actually each of it means, but try to just remember that kingdom is followed by phylum, class, order, family, genus, species. That is the hierarchical system of classification. That means any organism on planet Earth, whether it can be a tiger or a cat, or it can be a name plant or a bacterium, or it can be a mango tree. Any living organism is placed in each of this. Okay, tiger belongs to one specific kingdom, and it belongs to a particular phylum, it belongs to a specific class, it belongs to a specific order. That's what I mean to say. Now, kingdom, phylum, class, order, family, genus, species are the various ranks starting from the topmost with kingdom, followed by the least lowest rank species. Now, how to remember this? You can remember it as a king plays with clever officers for great success. Okay, K stands for kingdom. A king plays with clever officers for great success. Okay, so K stands for kingdom, phylum, class, order, family, genus, and species. So basically, in hierarchical system of classification, the living organisms are classified based on similarities in their internal structure, in the external structure, and their developmental history. That means the way they were born. Okay, based on that, the living organisms are classified. Now, as the name suggests, here the organisms are kept at different ranks. Okay, what are those ranks? Beginning from kingdom till species. Kingdom, phylum, class, order, family, genus, species. Now, how to remember it easily? Just remember this sentence. A king plays with clever officers for great success. K stands for kingdom, P for phylum, C for class, O for order, F for family, G for genus, S for species. Is it clear? One more important thing that you have to remember, the word phylum is used for animals. If we want to classify plants, then we use the term division. Okay, both phylum and division both hold second rank, their position is second only. But for animals, we use the term phylum, whereas for plants, the term that is used is division. They are placed under division rank. Okay, so that is what is the this is what I have told yesterday, that we'll be discussing about this picture today, where kingdom is the topmost rank, sorry, followed by the species being the lowest. Okay, and for animals we use the term phylum. If it is plants, we use the term division. Okay. Now, what is actually this kingdom, phylum, class, order? I'm talking about this hierarchical rank, but let's try to understand it with a better example. Okay, now let's assume there's a library. We all know library is a place where there are n number of books, right? It's a place filled with books, right? A kitchen, you can see here a library, right? It's a place filled with numerous books from various genres. Books of different genres can be seen. So it's a place filled with books. The same way here you can see kitchen. What is kitchen? It's a place where you can find food items, right? Anything related to food can is usually found in kitchen, right? So let's compare the library to kingdom. Okay. Now there are basically two broad kingdoms, Plantae and Animalia. Okay, as the name suggests, now just now I told, when I'm saying about library, we associate ourselves, when someone says the word library, okay, you start imagining a room filled with books, right? In the same way, when I say kitchen, obviously you start imagining a room with stove equipment along with the food items, right? So in the same way, when I say kingdom, it's like the library, or a kingdom can be a kitchen. Now, Plantae. What is Plantae? It's a kingdom with all plants in it. Animalia is a kingdom with all animals in it. Just like a library is a place filled with books and a kitchen is a place filled with food items, Animalia is that kingdom which takes into account all living organisms which are animals. Whereas Plantae, it groups all plants into it. Okay. We all know that living organisms on the planet Earth, according to Aristotle, he classified them into plants and animals. Now, these plants and animals, I should can I place both plants and animals in the same kingdom? No. All the plants are kept under Plantae and animals are kept under Animalia, in the kingdom Animalia. Is it clear? Now, after kingdom, we have phylum or division. Before understanding phylum or division, let's again come back to the example of library. So, you have various books in the library. Okay. Now, are the books organized properly? Yes. We know that there are different sections in the library. If you want books related to science, they are kept in one section. Books related to literature are kept under one section. Books related to history, they are kept in a different section, right? So that's the reason when you ask a librarian, ma'am, where can I find this book? Immediately he or she tells you, go there, you can find the book, because books are already organized in that particular section properly, right? So basically in the library you have many books. If you imagine the library to be a kingdom filled with many books, filled with many plants, or filled with many animals, if it's an animalia kingdom, filled with many animals, if it's a plant kingdom, it's completely filled with many plants. Now try to understand, your books are separated based on the subject matter in it. Science related books are kept under one section as science. Historical aspects, all those books are kept under history and it is again separated under another section. And books related to literature are kept in a different section, right? In the same way, in Animalia, that means animals, there are numerous animals. Okay, Animalia is a kingdom, right? There are some animals which have jointed legs. All those animals which have jointed legs, they are kept under the phylum Arthropoda. Okay, the animals which have jointed legs, basically your insects, most of your insects, they have jointed legs, are kept under the phylum Arthropoda, whereas those animals which have a notochord are all kept under a different phylum by the name Chordata. Okay, so basically, try to understand, even in the previous slide, I told you that animals, they are kept under the first rank kingdom Animalia, and next is division. If they have jointed legs, they are kept under Arthropoda. If they have a notochord, they are kept under Chordata. Then what about plants? For plants belong to which kingdom? We know they belong to Plantae, right? Now, not all the plants that you find are flowering plants. Some plants are non flowering, some are flowering. That means some plants generate flowers, some plants do not produce any flowers. So they are kept under two different divisions. Okay, I can't use the term phylum. Phylum is the term used only for Animalia kingdom, animal kingdom. For plant kingdom, you use the term division. Okay, so these plants are placed under two different divisions, flowering and non-flowering. Okay, because there are few plants which produce flowers, few plants which do not produce flowers. Okay, they are kept under different divisions, but the term division is used for plants and phylum is used for animals. Now again, let's come back to the example. You have a library filled with innumerable books. Now we have three sections in the library. One is science section, the other one is literature, and the third one is history. If you come back to living organisms, you have the kingdom Animalia with many animals in it, right? Now in in those animals, there are few animals which have jointed legs, which we are placing them under phylum Arthropoda, and few animals which have a notochord structure inside them internally. All those organisms which have internally a notochord, they are kept under the phylum Chordata. Okay, so kingdom, phylum, next is class. Before we understand class, let's again come back to the example of library. Now, if you see in literature, so firstly, you have the library filled with many books in it, and these books can be they can be related to history, or they can be they can be related to science, or they can be related to literature. Now, the books related to literature can again be of two types. They can be fictional and non-fictional. Okay, When I say fictional books, that means they are all imaginary, okay, not realistic. Non-fictional books are something which are realistic, something like motivational books. You have some self-growth books, personal development books. Now, can you see all these are non-fictional books? Okay, and you have fictional books, all imaginary kind. Okay, now they are kept again separately in different sections. You have library, you have a big section which is focusing on literature, and within that section again you find certain racks where entire rack is filled with fictional books, imaginary books, and a rack which is completely filled with non-fictional books. Okay, in the same way you have the kingdom animalia. Here you have organisms which have notochord, they are placed under chordata phylum, and those that have jointed legs are placed under arthropoda. Now, these organisms, the organisms which have notochord, again they can be classified based on whether they give directly birth to young ones, they are called mammals, or those that lay eggs and fly, they are kept under aves. Okay, aves are those animals which lay eggs and they can fly. Mammals are those that give directly birth to young ones. Okay, in chordata only, again the organisms are classified into two different classes, mammals and aves. Is it clear? Just like how in a library you have a number of books, then those books are separated based on science, literature, and history. In literature, again, you have fiction, non-fiction. In the same way, you have many animals, classified them into plantae or animalia, and animals obviously belong to animal kingdom. If they have notochord, chordata, jointed legs, arthropoda. In chordata again there are few animals which directly give birth to young ones, placed under mammals. Those that lay eggs and fly, they are kept under apes. Now, kingdom, phylum, class. King plays with clever officers. O stands for order. Okay. Now, if you see, you have books, books related to literature, books related to science and history. Literature, you have again fiction, non fiction. In fiction, again, you have different kinds of books. You have mystery books, books related to mystery, or you can have books related to fantasy, right? Fantasy world, or you can have books related to adventure. Again they are separated. Again in the fiction rack, the books are again separated. If they are related to adventure, they are kept in one separate rack. If they are related to fantasy, separate, they are kept in a different rack. And if they are related to mystery, kept again in a different shelf or rack. Okay, in the same way, mammals which give birth to young ones. Okay, that's the class. There are certain animals which feed on other animals. They are kept under carnivora, and some are grouped under the class primates. You can see different kinds of these look similar to monkeys. They are kept under primates, and you can see carnivora. That means the animals which feed on other animals for their survival. Flesh-eating animals, like you can see hyenas, wolves, bear, and tiger. So they are kept under carnivora or primates. Okay, that's about order. King plays with clever officers. Fur. F stands for family. Okay. So again, come back to the example of library. You have library filled with many books, books related to literature, science, and history. Literature books can be fiction, non-fiction books. If they're fiction related, they can be adventurous books, they can be mystery books, or they can be fantasy books. Right? Now, fantasy books can be of two types. They can be fairy tale books, or they can be fantasy books related to magic. That's what you can see here, right? Books related to fairy tales, or they can be books related to magic. In the same way, you have carnivora, that's the order. Now, all these, we know these are carnivores, right? Lion, tiger, but they are placed in different families. Cats, tigers, lions, all of them are placed in one same family known as Felidae. They have similar characteristics, hence they are placed in Felidae. Dogs are placed in a separate family known as Canidae. Bears are placed in Ursidae. Hyenas, they are placed in Hyenidae. In the same way, in plants, if you go to plants, onion and garlic, maybe you if you see they look similar, right? They are placed because of the bulb-like structure as the vegetative reproductive organ. Onion and garlic, they are placed under Liliaceae family. Okay, both onion and garlic are kept under Liliaceae family. And you can see that cats, tigers, lions, they are placed in the same family, which is Felidae. And even pulses, peas, beans, all these are kept under one family, Fabaceae. They show similar characteristics. That's the reason they are placed in the same family. Here also cats, lions, tigers, they are kept in the same family because they show some similar properties. Just like how the books, all the fairy tale books are kept in one rack and magic books are kept in one rack. Okay, so that's about family. A king plays with clever officers for great. G stands for genus. Okay, now try to understand. We might think a tiger is more similar to a cat, but that's not the actual case. Tiger resembles more of its properties with lion, okay, because they share the same genus Panthera, while cats belong to the genus Felis. How to understand? Again, come back to the example where you have a library with many books, but there are some books which are related to science, some related to history, some related to literature. Literature books can be classified again into fictional, non-fictional books. These fictional books can be classified based on adventure, mystery, and fantasy. Fantasy books can be again fairy tale or they can be magical books. Now, fairy tales books can be related to princesses, right? So that is what is being shown here, where though cats, tigers, and lions belong to the same family Felidae, cats, lions, tigers, all three belong to the same family, which is Felidae. But lions and tigers show even more resemblances among themselves, and that's the reason they are placed in the same genus known as Panthera, while cats are showing some unique properties which are not shown by lions and tigers. Therefore, they are kept separately in a genus known as Felis. Is it clear? Now, in the fairy tale books, you have again separately books related to Cinderella and book for Snow White. In the same way, human beings are one species. All human beings, they belong to the same species. Onions belong to same species. All garlic, they belong to the same species. What is species? It's the basic unit of classification. Okay, and species are basically group of animals or plants that can breed among themselves. Group of plants and animals that can breed among themselves. What do I mean by this thing? You can't take a monkey and breed it with a horse. There will be no progeny seen. A monkey can breed with a monkey and give you progeny. So, monkey belongs to one species, horse belongs to another species. Is it clear? So, species is the base, just like cell is the basic unit of life, the basic unit of classification is species. Okay, and these species are nothing but group of plants or animals that can breed among themselves. All human beings, though we look different, but we are the same species. We can breed among ourselves to generate more progeny. Okay, so basically human beings belong to the same species, and species is the basic unit of classification. Now different species are put under same genera if they share certain characteristics. In the same way, different genera are kept in a same class. different classes are kept in the same order. In that way it follows. What I'm trying to say is just maybe with an example you'll understand. Let's take an example of lion. Okay, lion belongs to animalia kingdom because it's an animal. It belongs to chordata. It's a mammal, mammalia. Belongs to the order Carnivora, and it belongs to the family Felidae. In the family Felidae, you have tigers, you have lions, and cats. But lions and tigers share even more similarities among themselves. That's the reason they are kept under the genus Panthera. But a lion has few unique characteristics that makes it a lion. Therefore, it belongs to the species Leo. Panthera leo is the scientific name of lion. We'll understand what actually is scientific name, but this is the hierarchical system of classification, or the modern system of classification, or natural system of classification, where lion belongs to animalia kingdom, chordata phylum, mammalia class, carnivora order, felidae family, panthera genus, and species is leo. Is it clear? Just like now, simply I can say, if I tell you get a book from a library, your question will be, ma'am, what's the name of the book or which subject is it related to, right? It's very random when I say get a book from the library. If I say bring the Snow White book or the Cinderella book from the library, I'm very specific, right? So in the same way, organisms are basically classified and kept under different ranks for systematic study, proper study of these organisms, and for better understanding about each organism belonging to that particular rank. Okay, now this is all about hierarchical system of classification, where and it is very important, students, you can't write kingdom, class, order, genus, phylum, then species. The order must be maintained: kingdom, phylum, class, order, family, genus, species. A king plays with clever officers for great success. Okay, and for plants, we use the term division instead of phylum. But division or phylum both hold the second position in the hierarchical system. Okay, so this is what I've already explained, where we compared the kingdom with a library, and then using the different genres, I've showed how actually species is the basic unit. Okay, now, so initially people thought that living organisms they belong only to, like, living organisms can be classified only as plants and animals. Therefore, initially all the organisms were kept only under two kingdoms, that is, under plants or in animals. Okay, but later there was one scientist by the name R.H. Whittaker. Okay, R.H. Whittaker, he basically classified living organisms in five kingdoms. Okay, so it's also known as R.H. Whittaker five kingdom classification. Okay, so Whittaker is a scientist who said that living organisms, we just can't classify them as plants and animals, or they shouldn't be kept only under just two kingdoms, but actually there are living organisms which differ in various properties, as a result of which they are kept under five different kingdoms. Okay, so it's called as R.H. Whittaker's five kingdom classification. Okay, and what are the five kingdoms? Monera, Protista, fungi, plantae, and animalia. This is the five kingdom system of classification which was given by R.H. Whittaker. He said that all the living organisms that are present on the planet Earth, they have to be placed under five kingdoms, starting from Monera, Protista, fungi, plantae, and animalia. These are the five kingdoms. Initially, living organisms were classified only as plants and animals by Aristotle, father of biology, and he was the first to classify organisms as plants and animals. Okay, but later, R.H. Whittaker has said that living organisms surviving on the planet Earth, they can be placed under five kingdoms, that is Monera, Protista, fungi, plantae, animalia. Okay, now let's understand why did he keep different kingdoms and what organisms can be placed in that particular kingdom. Okay. Now, all bacteria are kept under kingdom Monera. I'm sorry. Plants are kept under Plantae, animals are kept under Animalia kingdom. Then what about bacteria? Should they be placed in Plantae or Animalia? No, R.H. Whittaker created a separate kingdom for bacteria, exclusively for bacteria. All the bacteria are placed under the kingdom Monera. Okay, and we all know that bacteria are unicellular. That means a single cell is present in these organisms, and the single cell itself performs all the functions that is required for the survival of the organism. And very important point about bacteria is they are unicellular and they lack nucleus. Do you remember, students, when we did the sorry, when I explained you the experiment of onion peel or the cheek cells? We have seen the cells under the microscope having some stained spherical structure inside the cell, which you call it as nucleus, right? This nucleus you found even in the cheek cells and even in your onion peel cells, right? Whereas bacteria, which are placed, why are bacteria placed in a separate kingdom? Because they have very unique properties. Firstly, they are unicellular, and unlike plants and animals, they don't have any nucleus. So R.H. Whittaker felt that there is a need that bacteria should be kept in a separate kingdom. They are showing very unique characteristics or properties. Therefore, bacteria are unicellular and they lack nucleus. Now, if you see this first picture, can you see the bacteria are rod shaped? You can see something like this, right? They're rod shaped. Such bacteria, any bacteria which looks rod like under the microscope, they are placed under, they are grouped again as bacilli or bacillus. Okay, some bacteria appear spherical in shape. They are kept under cocci, plural, or singular coccus. If bacteria are spiral shaped, then they are kept under the group Spirillum. Try to understand, bacteria are minute organisms which are present in nature. These are unicellular, they do not have any nucleus. Unlike plants and animals, plants have a nucleus in their cell, animals do have a nucleus in the cell, but bacteria lacks the cell nucleus. Bacteria are cellular, they are unicellular, they have a single cell, but they lack nucleus in them. Hence Whittaker placed these organisms in a separate kingdom known as Monera. Okay. Now, the bacteria which are present, they can be either rod shaped, they can be spherical shaped, or they can be spiral shaped. If they are rod shaped, then they are placed under Bacillus group. Okay. If they are spherical shaped, then they are said to be cocci or coccus. If it is spiral shaped, then we use the term spirillum or spirilla. Plural is spirilla, singular is spirillum. So, based on the shape, they can be classified either into bacillus, coccus, or spirillum. And bacteria are present everywhere. They are found in air, they are present in soil, found in water. Since they are present everywhere, you use the term that bacteria are omnipresent. They're found everywhere. Okay, irrespective of, there's no exception. They're found in air, water, soil. Okay. Hence, we use the term that bacteria are omnipresent, or we can also use the term ubiquitous. Okay, bacteria are omnipresent or they are ubiquitous. So, what are the five kingdoms of R.H. Whittaker? Monera, Protista, fungi, Plantae, Animalia. All the bacteria, any kind of bacteria, it's kept under Monera. Okay. Why did he create a specific kingdom for bacteria? Because it shows some unique characteristics. What are they? They are unicellular organisms and they lack nucleus in them. Hence, they are kept under a separate kingdom, that is Monera. Is it clear? Now, the next kingdom is Protista. Why did he create a kingdom again known as Protista? Now, Protista also includes unicellular organisms. That means these organisms are made up of single cell. Then they could have placed in bacteria only. No, why did he create a separate kingdom? That's because these organisms, though they are unicellular, they have nucleus in their cell. Presence of nucleus is seen inside their cells. Okay. Bacteria, do they have nucleus? No. Are they unicellular? Yes. Since they lack nucleus, though they are unicellular, they are kept under monera. But unicellular organisms having nucleus in them, they are kept under the group Protista. Okay. Now, these organisms, some of the organisms, you can maybe identify this as amoeba, right? And this is your paramecium. Okay, amoeba and paramecium, they are basically animal like. That means they cannot prepare their own food. They are heterotrophic. Whereas some protista members, if you can see here, the green color structure is because of chlorophyll. So these organisms, can they perform photosynthesis? Yes. Are they autotrophic? Yes. What is the example here that you see? The organism that you see is basically euglena. Okay, it is a protista, but it is a photosynthetic protista, or it can prepare its own food. Whereas here amoeba, you can see it is also it also belongs to the kingdom protista, but it is heterotrophic. And here you have diatoms. Okay. So basically, unicellular organisms having nucleus in their cells, they are kept under the kingdom Protista. And in this, some of the organisms are autotrophic, which can prepare their own food, and few organisms are heterotrophic. So, can I say Protista includes members which are unicellular because they have a single cell, they are made of single cell. Secondly, contains nucleus, they have nucleus in them. They can be autotrophic or heterotrophic, right? Just like amoeba and paramecium are heterotrophic, but they're still placed in Protista group. Whereas euglena is autotrophic, still placed in Protista group. Why? Because they are unicellular and have nucleus in them. So Monera includes all bacteria. Why? Because they are unicellular, lacks nucleus. But Protista includes organisms which are unicellular and have nucleus in them. They can be autotrophic or they can be heterotrophic, right? Next is fungi. Okay, what are basically fungi? Why did R.H. Whittaker again create a separate group? Fungi includes either unicellular organisms or it can include multicellular organisms. That means organisms belonging to this kingdom fungi, they can be either unicellular made up of a single cell or they can be multicellular, and these organisms are all heterotrophic. Can they prepare their own food? No. Okay, best example is unicellular fungus. Best example is yeast. Have you ever heard about yeast? Your mother uses it when she wants to bake a cake, or even for preparation of dough for pizza. Okay, if you want the crust of, like, you want the pizza to be soft, right? Or even for preparing chapatis sometimes, you want the dough to be very soft, and you want the sponginess in the cake. That's because of your yeast. Okay, what is yeast? It's a unicellular fungus. But fungi also includes multicellular organisms. Best example is mushrooms. We all eat mushrooms, right? So these mushrooms are multicellular fungal organisms. Can they prepare their own food? No. They are heterotrophic. Then how do they get their food? They are saprophytic. If you remember yesterday, I told you what are saprophytes. They feed on dead and decaying organic matter. Okay? They feed on dead and decaying organic matter. Here you have penicillium. It's a fungus from which we get antibiotics. Here you have rhizopus. It's another fungus. So basically, organisms which are heterotrophic and they can be either uni or multicellular are kept under the group fungus. Okay. Monera includes all bacteria which are unicellular and lack nucleus. Protista includes unicellular organisms which have nucleus and they can be autotrophic or heterotrophic. Fungi includes heterotrophic organisms which are either uni or multicellular. Unicellular fungus is example is yeast, best example. Okay. Next is plantae. Plantae basically includes organisms which are all multicellular. We all know that plants are multicellular, they're made up of many cells, right? And these organisms either can be autotrophs, they can prepare their own food, or they can be heterotrophs. If if they are heterotrophs, they can be either parasites, just like Cuscuta, Viscum, and Striga, or they can be saprophytic. There are certain saprophytic plants as well. Okay. So parasites are the plants which depend. Can you see Cuscuta, the yellow color plants, yellow color plant? You can see it's completely depending on this green color plant. Okay. Here also, Viscum, depending on the other plant, Rafflesia. Sorry, this is not Striga. I'm sorry. This is Rafflesia. Okay. So basically, plantae includes all plants. All plants are kept under kingdom plantae, which where these organisms are multicellular. That means plants are multicellular. Are all plants photosynthetic? No. Those plants which are completely which are green are photosynthetic. They are called as autotrophs, while those that depend on other plants for their food, they are said to be parasites, or if they feed on dead and decaying matter, they are kept under saprophytes. Okay. And coming to animalia, all animals are placed under the animal kingdom, which is animalia. Again, they are classified into two types: invertebrates and vertebrates. Vertebrates, they have the vertebral column. We all have a vertebral column, right? So we are vertebrates, and those that lack a vertebral column, they are kept under invertebrates. Examples include flatworm, jellyfishes, starfish, shrimp, snail. They lack this vertebral column, hence they are placed under invertebrates. Whereas those that have a backbone or a vertebral column, they are kept under vertebrates. Okay. So this is the five kingdom system of classification given by R.H.Whittaker, where Monera includes bacteria which are unicellular organisms lacking a nucleus, and these bacteria are ubiquitous, omnipresent, they are found everywhere. Protista are the organisms which are unicellular but they have nucleus, and they can be photosynthetic or non-photosynthetic. That means these organisms can be autotrophic or heterotrophic. Fungi, all the fungi are heterotrophic without any exception, but they can be unicellular or multicellular. Plantae includes all plants. The organisms belonging to the kingdom Plantae are all multicellular. They can be either autotrophic or heterotrophic, depending on whether they have the pigment chlorophyll in them or not. Okay. Animalia again includes all multicellular organisms, and all of them, without any exception, are heterotrophs. Okay. Again, animals like the animals belonging to the Animalia kingdom, they can be classified into invertebrates and vertebrates based on the presence or absence of vertebral column. Okay, that's the five kingdom system of classification given by R.H. Whittaker. I hope it's clear, students. Okay, now let's understand another term which is known as nomenclature. Okay, before going into the term, before understanding what actually this term nomenclature means, can you see a picture here? You have a father, mother, along with four kids, right? So once the kid is born, they give a name to the kid, right? Otherwise, how will they actually call the kid? If kid one, kid two, that's not how they call. Or if they won't give name to the kid, they if they start calling him girl or boy, hey girl come here, or hey boy come here, then they don't understand whom their parents are actually referring to, right? So basically, when I say nomenclature, it means identifying organisms and naming the organisms. Okay, giving names to organisms. We call it as nomenclature. Okay, to living organisms. When you give name, it's called nomenclature. Okay. Now, for example, we all have names, usual names, but apart from that, if you know your, like for example, let's assume A girl is given her name as Radha, okay? But at home she is called as uh, maybe by a nickname. Are you understanding? You obviously, each one of you have a nickname which is given by your parents, right? At home. So let's assume the nickname that's given to her is Kitty. Okay, assume. Okay, so Radha is her name, actual name, but at home she is called as Kitty, just as an expression of love towards her by her parents. That's what she's been called as. Okay, so in the same way, living organisms also have two names. That is, one is scientific name that's given to the organism under nomenclature. Just now I told you what is nomenclature. It's the process of identification of organism and naming the organism, just like you might have uh, I don't know if you remember, but when you were small, maybe your parents have done naming ceremonies where they do it as a function, where they call your relatives and actually celebrate the process of giving a name to you, right? In the same way, nomenclature is a process where you identify the organism and give a scientific name to the organism. Okay, but to give you a nickname, will your parents again do a naming ceremony? No, that's not the case. In the same way, organisms have two names, scientific names and the local names. When I say scientific name, it's the name which is given during this process of nomenclature. That means during the process of identification of the organism, a name was given. That's the scientific name. And then you have the local names. Local names means each organism has a name according to the region. Okay, we'll understand it better with examples, but try to understand that when I use the term nomenclature, it's nothing but naming an organism. Okay, and why do we name organism? In order to study it. Okay, I can't call every plant as a plant one, plant two, and all. A particular name should be given to that particular species for proper in-depth studying and proper uh, organization. And one more thing, one more important thing why naming is done is, okay, I'll talk about it in the next slide, why a scientific name is given and not a local name actually under nomenclature. But try to understand the credit for this nomenclature is given to a scientist by the name Carl Linnaeus. Okay, he is also known as father of modern taxonomy. Father of modern taxonomy is Carl Linnaeus, and when I say nomenclature, it's basically naming of organisms, identifying the organism and giving it a particular name. Now try to understand here. You can see two pictures, right? One is onion, and the second one is basically your mango. Now, onion, there are several local names for the onion. Like we call it as Punnuru in Assamese. Like Assamese refer it as Punnuru. In Hindi, it's called Pyaz. We all know that. It's called Ulipaya in Telugu. It's called Ulli in Malayalam. It's called Vengayam in Tamil. Vengayam in Tamil. And it's called Piaja in Orissa. Oriya, sorry. Okay. So the same plant, onion, it has several local names. In Assam, it's called Punnuru, right? And in Hindi, it's called Piaz. In Kerala, it's called Uli. In the Andhra or Telangana, it's called Ulipaya or Uligadda. In Tamil, it's called Vengayam. In Orissa, sorry, in Tamil Nadu, it's called Vengayam. In Orissa, it's called Piaja. So there are several local names for onion. And the same goes with mango. Okay. It's called Am in Hindi. It's called Mavu in Marathi. Amba in Oriya. Mamidi in Telugu. Okay. So again, the same plant, the same fruit, that's your mango, it's called by different local names. What's actually the problem with this local name? Why did scientists come up with a scientific name? Why did they want to give a specific name, a special official name to the plant or to living organism? So the nomenclature that is used is binomial nomenclature. Okay, why binomial nomenclature? Just like we all know that human beings, they have two names. You have a first name and a last name, right? And some people might have even middle name. Okay, first name, middle name, and last name. In the same way, according to the binomial nomenclature, this binomial nomenclature was again uh, given by Carl Linnaeus. The credit goes to Carl Linnaeus. Apart from him being the father of modern taxonomy, okay, he also has proposed this binomial nomenclature. As the name suggests, bi means two names. So every living organism has two parts in it. Under the scientific name, try to understand. We all know that any living organism has scientific name and a local name. The scientific name is given by the is given, which we call it as nomenclature. Okay. Now, what nomenclature is being followed? Binomial nomenclature. That means every plant species or any organism, any living organism on the planet Earth, it has two parts in its name. Okay, hence we use the term binomial. There are two parts in the name. The first part refers to the genus it belongs to, the genus name, and the second part belongs to the species name. If you remember, we talked about king plays with clever officers for great success. This is the hierarchical system of classification, where every organism belongs to one kingdom, phylum, class, order, family, genus, species. The genus that the organism belongs to, the species that it belongs to, forms the two parts of its name, the generic name and the species name. Hence, it is called binomial nomenclature. Every organism has the generic name and a species name. For example, human beings, the scientific name is Homo sapiens. Okay, and try, okay, Homo sapiens, where Homo is the genus name, sapiens is the species name. Tiger, what is the scientific name? Panthera tigris. That means tiger belongs to the genus Panthera. Do you remember for lion, what is the scientific name, girls? Sorry, students. Panthera leo, right? Where Panthera is the genus and Leo is the species. And if you remember, I told you tiger and lion belong to the same genus. Hence, they have the same genus name, Panthera. Okay. And you have the plant Tinospora cordifolia. Okay, where this is the genus name and this is your specific epithet or species name. Okay. Now, if you observe carefully these three names, okay, always remember a generic name starts with capital letter. Homo, H is capital. Panthera, P is capital. Tinospora, T is capital. So, generic name or genus name always starts with capital letter, while species name always starts with small letter. Sapiens, tigris, cordifolia. So, it starts with small letter. Okay, even when you write, for example, mango, what is the scientific name? Mangifera indica. Okay, that's the scientific name of mango. Now you can see Mangifera is the genus, indica is the species. M capital letter, I small letter. When you are writing scientific name of any particular living organism, then the generic name and the species name should be underlined separately, not as a single line, separately. Okay. Now onion, what is the scientific name? Elium cepa. Okay. Elium is the generic name, so A is capital. Cepa is the species name, C small letter. And the generic name and the species name should be underlined separately when you write. But when you type or when it is printed, then scientific names should be italicized. That's must. Okay, when you're printing scientific names, then they have to be italicized. And one more thing is the generic name should be in capital letter and species name should be in small letter. Is it clear, girls? So, why is scientific name very important? Why can't we call mango as arm or maybe as amba, or why can't we call onion as ponnuru, pyas? Why are we keeping a professional or a scientific name to the living organism? That's because let's assume you are doing research on mangoes. Okay. And your friend who is staying in London or in Newark is also doing research on mango. Okay. Now, if you start referring the mango as arm or some other thing, then people from other countries can't understand what are you referring to. You have to use the same name throughout. That is, the scientific name is a name which is used globally throughout the world. You are working on mango, then you have to write in your paper as mangifera indica. When you're doing research, you say, I'm doing research on mangifera indica. That means mango. They'll get to understand. The same way, the person, your friend, whosoever is working in Newark, if he is working on mango, even he writes, I'm working on mangifera indica. That actually lets you know that okay, the organism that I'm working with is mango. Okay, so local names are good to use for daily usage. Now you won't go to market and ask the vendor, please give me Mangifera indica. Obviously, you can't understand, right? So local names are good to use for daily usage. If you want to go to market or talk with your friends, then they are quite good to use. But scientific names come handy when you have to work on it. That means for scientific works, basically scientific names are used. Or when you have to talk about that particular plant or organism globally, then we use scientific names. And which system of nomenclature is being used for naming these organisms? Binomial nomenclature. Okay, that means we are giving a name where the name contains two words. The first word refers to the genus it belongs to, and the second word refers to the species the particular organism belongs to. So, though there are several local names, the name that is used scientifically is Allium cepa for onion, and Mangifera indica is the name that's used for mango. Okay. So, in today's class, what did we discuss? We started with the modern system of classification or the hierarchical system of classification, where each organism is kept under different ranks, starting from kingdom to species. Okay. And the order must be kept in mind, students: kingdom, phylum, class, order, family, genus, species. And plants belong to division, not phylum. The word division is used for plants. Okay. And I have given the example of library and explained to you each rank, starting from kingdom till species. Then we have taken the example of lion, to which species it belongs to, and what's the kingdom phylum that it belongs to. Okay. And we talked about the five kingdom classification given by R.H.Whittaker, starting with Monera, Protista, fungi, plantae, and animalia. Monera includes all your bacteria. Protista includes unicellular organisms having nucleus, but they can be heterotrophs or autotrophs. Fungi includes all heterotrophic organisms, but they can be unicellular or multicellular. Plantae includes organisms which are all multicellular, but they can be either photosynthetic, that is autotrophic, or they can be heterotrophic. Animalia includes all animals which are multicellular. They are all heterotrophic, but either they can have a vertebral column. If they do have, then they are kept under vertebrates. If they lack a vertebral column, they are kept under invertebrates. And naming of living organisms is quite important for easy studying, easy reference of the organism throughout the globe. Local names are good to use for daily usage, for day to day activities, but scientific names are generally used for scientific purposes. And we use which system? Binomial nomenclature, which was given by Carl Linnaeus, who is known as father of modern taxonomy. And why the term binomial? Because bi, two. Okay, each living organism is named such that it has two parts in it. One is the genus it belongs to, generic name, and the second part is the species name. Just like we have a first name and a last name, or we might have sometimes first name, middle name, and last name. Just like living organisms have two parts in them, two names. One is generic name and the other one is species name. Okay, and the generic name always begins with a capital letter, species small letter. When it is written on a book, both the generic and the species name should be underlined separately. If they are printed, then they must be italicized. Okay, so that's all about today, students, where we discussed in detail about hierarchical or modern system of classification in detail, starting from kingdom till species, where species is said to be the basic unit of classification. And we talked about the five kingdom system of classification given by R.H. Whittaker, allowing the bacteria, protista, and fungi to be placed separately, unlike Aristotle's system of classification, where all living organisms were just kept under two kingdoms as plants and animals. Unlike that, R.H. Whittaker made the classification even more specific by creating three additional kingdoms as Monera, Protista, and fungi. And we even discussed about nomenclature, that is naming of living organisms scientifically under the binomial system of nomenclature. Any doubts related to this topic or related to the video, please do comment it down below. And before watching this video, please refer part 1 of the video where we discussed about artificial system of classification, what actually is classification, what is taxonomy. Right, any doubts, kindly comment it down below. If you like my content, please do like, share, and subscribe to my channel Biology Foundation, and enjoy the journey of learning. Bye bye, have a good day.